The Christian faith spread throughout Japan until the beginning of the 20th century, when militant Shintoism underwent a major revival. Once again, Christian missionaries fled the country. By 1905, Japan occupied Korea. By 1935, the gospel was nearly snuffed out in Northeast Asia. The Paris Foreign Mission Society was established here in Tokyo in 1871. Within a couple of years, they were allowed to purchase this piece of land and build their first church. This is St. Joseph Church, completed in 1874 and currently undergoing a major restoration. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, this was the central hub for Catholic missionaries working in Japan, especially the north of Tokyo. St. Joseph Church had the status of cathedral and seat of the Catholic Archdiocese of Tokyo until 1920, when the local bishop moved to St. Mary's Cathedral just up the road. This is St. Mary's Cathedral, now the seat of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese here in Tokyo. The original wooden church was built in 1899, but it was destroyed during air raids on Tokyo during World War II. The current church was completed in 1964. The modern stainless steel design of the present cathedral is very unique. The parabolic shapes open upwards and form a cross of light. The separate bell tower is over 200 feet high. Inside St. Mary's Cathedral, you can see how these walls sort of reflect the light and create a pretty special environment. In 2004, this huge Italian organ was installed. Missionaries of other Christian churches also came to Japan. One Russian Orthodox priest was so revered that the Japanese emperor himself sent a bouquet to the priest's funeral. Protestants arrived too, many of them American. They brought higher education, medical clinics, and the first Protestant literature published in Japanese. The Christian faith spread throughout Japan until the beginning of the 20th century, when militant Shintoism underwent a major revival. Once again, Christian missionaries fled the country. By 1905, Japan occupied Korea. By 1935, the gospel was nearly snuffed out in Northeast Asia. One incredible story of faith from this period in Japan is Takashi Nagai. Born in 1908 and raised in a traditional Confucian and Shinto family, Takashi became a scientist and a skeptic. However, while studying medicine in Nagasaki during the early 1930s, he met some of the hidden Christians and learned about Jesus Christ. Takashi was baptized in 1934 and took Paul as his baptismal name. A pioneer in radiology, Paul Takashi Nagai poured his life into serving the sick and training young doctors, despite the known risks of exposure to gamma rays. The early equipment leaked radiation, and radiologists died young. During the final days of World War II, Takashi learned that he had incurable leukemia, and he would soon leave his beloved wife. But just 2 months later, his wife was taken in the nuclear bomb explosion that leveled Nagasaki and marked the end of World War II. Although the hospital was only a few hundred yards from ground zero, Dr. Nagai survived. Ironically, his radiology department had the strongest walls in the hospital. Then, 2 days later, Dr. Nagai discovered the charred remains of his wife, her hand still clutching her rosary. He wrote, "Dearest God, thank you for allowing her to die praying. Ah, gracious Jesus, our Savior, you once sweat blood and bore the heavy cross to your crucifixion, and now you have shed peaceful light on the mystery of suffering and death." Takashi survived for several more years and became an apostle of peace and reconciliation in Japan, writing books about Japan's previous mistakes and the value of human life going forward. Near the end of his life, Takashi wrote, "Unless you have suffered and wept, you really don't understand what compassion is, nor can you give comfort to someone who is suffering.
If you haven't cried, you can't dry another's eyes. Unless you've walked in darkness, you can't help wanderers find the way. Unless you've looked into the eyes of menacing death and felt its hot breath, you can't help another rise from the dead and taste anew the joy of being alive. The Sky Tree is a broadcast and observation tower here in Tokyo. At 2,080 feet, it's the second tallest structure in the world, after the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. The Sky Tree offers incredible views of Tokyo.
And for us more daring visitors, the Tokyo Sky Tree features the world's tallest skywalk. I got this, Mommy. After Japan's defeat in World War II, Northeast Asia changed rapidly. With the help of the West, Japan rebuilt and became an economic powerhouse. By the late 20th century, the country was steeped in materialism and a hyper-loyal corporate culture. Japan was also considered one of the least Christian countries in the world. During the same period, two Koreas arose. North Korea was dominated by the Soviet Union, officially communist and anti-Christian. South Korea, on the other hand, fully opened its doors to free enterprise and Christianity. In fact, the first elected president of South Korea was a Christian. By the end of the 20th century, about 30% of South Korea was considered Christian. Today, Northeast Asia is a tale of different nations. North Korea continues as a land of anti-Christian dictatorship and death. Japan is open to all religious faiths, but shows little interest in the gospel right now. And South Korea is a country of widespread Christian growth, home to some of the largest churches in the world, now sending thousands of Christian missionaries throughout Northeast Asia and to the ends of the earth.